Hi, and welcome to another episode of Megan Opachensky's Study Guide for the NBE. Now, this is going to be the first of two episodes I am doing on religious rites and funeral practices with my guest co-hosts. Today, we are going to be doing Jewish funeral rites with my very, very close friend, Susan. Say hi.
Hi.
You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Susan Richman, and I'm very happy to be here with Megan.
Susan hails from New York, and she is going to absolutely save me from embarrassing myself and disrespecting this entire religion, which is, as y'all know, exactly why I wanted to find a practicing Jewish and practicing Muslim. Now, my Muslim friend should be joining me. I believe we said Monday is her agreement, or Tuesday, so we're going to be doing that soon. So, anywho, we are going to be covering a couple of Quizlets because, honestly, I got to admit, when I took my exam, what I studied, I can't tell you questions or any of that. I can't do it, but I have to say that what I learned in school, I was not prepared just by the textbook with what they asked for Jewish terms and Islamic terms. I also want to add my last episode. I told you that next week, after that final religious thing that we're doing with my friend with, Muslim Islamic funeral rites, we're going to sciences. I've already got the prefixes and all that, right? I'm holding to my promise. However, I did do a very quick episode where we covered all of the, I hate saying this, but the quote unquote lesser covered religions, which includes my religion, Buddhism, Mormon, all of that. I will be posting that today as well. It covers everything that you're going to need to know for your NBE. I focused on that as opposed to going further in. So with Judaism and Islam, they will ask you some of the most obscure questions, and they want to make sure that you know, just like Roman Catholic. Like I've told you this before when I said I invited Susan to help me and invited you'll see why. Like when you sit down, you're totally going to understand why I picked those two religions to have a co-host to help me fully explain and prepare you guys. So, without further ado, as always, we're going to start with one Quizlet that is 95 cards and covers pretty extensive. Now, I did print out a couple other Quizlets. We might see some repetition, but please remember, repetition is a positive. If you see something repeated, if you hear something repeated, that is typically a sign that you need to know that. That's the only hint I'm going to give you for that. Now, all right, so I'm going to tell you when it comes to these, I wish I could tell you some of these you don't need to know. You really do need to listen to this and the upcoming Islam and the other one with the bunch of religions a couple of times. Get your stuff down. Like the who wears the green apron, who carries the sprig, who carries the evergreen. You know that stuff, okay? So anyway, to the Jewish faith. Sorry to digress. I really wanted y'all to understand what we're doing. We are now concluding arts. This is it. It feels weird. I feel like I've accomplished such a big part of my endeavor. So, all right, we are starting with the Quizlet titled Funeral Directing, Jewish and Islamic Funeral Rite. We're going to stop when we get to the Islamic part. And it is by creator Samantha H. Hernandez. Now, as always, you know in my notes that I always credit with the link to the Quizlet and the name of the creator. So please do not stress. You can go and look and see yourself, okay? So, all right. Term for the 7 days of mourning in the Jewish faith.
Shiva.
Name for the monotheistic religion of the Jewish people.
Judaism.
Which of the following is true regarding the Orthodox Jewish funeral rite?
Once informed a death has occurred, the rabbi should be contacted immediately.
And that is important. Now, non-Orthodox, they don't. I believe they don't require that, but just remember that for Orthodox. So
Actually, for all Jewish.
they do.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I saw something where it said like it actually. Oh, you know what? That was a different religion when I was recording yesterday.
It all depends. Like if you don't belong to a synagogue and you don't have a rabbi, then you can call the funeral director and ask them to find you a rabbi.
That is phenomenal to know. Like,
Yeah.
they don't tell you that in school. That's so cool. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to repeat that since she was right and I was totally wrong. Once informed a death has occurred, the rabbi should be contacted immediately. So, all right. Name of the funeral cortege in the Jewish faith.
Levaya.
Proper title for the leader of the synagogue.
Rabbi.
You are directing a Jewish funeral service. Part of the service is the eulogy. This is called the
Hesped.
Container made entirely of wood and containing no metal parts is called an...
Aaron.
You know, I've been saying the name Aaron, since I started school. And like all my teachers said Aaron, and I used to spell it A-A. I used to get so confused. I was like, why are y'all saying it this way? Anywho, all right. Which of the following is the proper term for the anniversary of death in the Jewish faith tradition?
Yortzeit.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that is spelled Y-A-H-R-Z-E-I-T, and it is said
Yortzeit.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
I know.
I am not laughing at you. I'm laughing at if I did this myself. People would be like cringing and going, oh, good gravy. Okay. I'm so glad you're helping me.
My pleasure.
All right. Here's an easy one for y'all. Actually, I didn't know this. Which of the following terms was defined as being the oldest symbol in Judaism?
Menorah.
I didn't know that.
Me neither.
See, you're learning stuff too. That's awesome. Like, that's the point. Like, that's great. Your funeral home is assisting its first Orthodox Jewish family. What individual will you have to accommodate at your funeral home?
The Shomer.
Hey, say that right. I got that. The blank is a prayer shawl worn by Orthodox Jewish men during the morning prayer. Wow, they spelled that wrong. Shame. Morning prayer service.
Actually, that's correct. Because
Like
you
in
pray
the morning?
In the morning, yes.
Oh.
And there's many different pronunciations for this word. It's called a talit. It's a shawl that men wear, and women in Reform Judaism can wear it too.
Yeah, they say that in another one.
So yeah, we pronounce it talit. Back in the day, they pronounced it talis, and I think they have it written down as talith.
And see, I've been saying talith. Oh wow. Now
Talis is right because it's but talit.
Okay, that sounds more like legitimate.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting you say that because like reading this myself, Jewish men during the morning prayer service, I would have assumed morning as in M-O-U-R, not morning as in morning daylight. So that's really
neat. Orthodox Judaism is really interesting.
It really is.
Yes, and there's a lot of praying going on in the morning. A lot of men.
Well, you think about how fast they move. Like, they bury them within a day. So you got to think about how, now that I think about it, there's a reason. Oh, okay. All right. I'm following. Thank you for teaching us that. Me and our listeners. Like, that was really cool. I, for one, did not learn that in school, and I went to Gupton, and I don't know if you guys practice Judaism, don't laugh at me, but, like, I've never been exposed to it before meeting you, honestly. Like, questions I've asked you, those are
anything you want to know.
Anyway, all right. The 30-day, this is important, guys, okay? Obviously the Aaron, the Talith, I usually am pretty good at going, this is important. Remember when I said all of these are going to be important? I'm going to start making sure you know, like, I'm going to do my typical tricks because we're getting to some that you need to freaking know or you aren't going to pass because I got to tell you, they kind of plague your exam. All right. the 30-day mourning, as in crying, not daylight, all right? Mourning period in the Jewish faith is?
Shaloshim.
All right, remember that, guys. S-H-O-L-O, Shim. If that helps you remember, okay? 30-day mourning period, Sholo, Shim.
Shaloshim.
If
Shaloshim.
There you go.
Shaloshim.
Remember that. Even if it's butchering it like I just did, and you can just remember the way it's made up, you need to remember the 30-day mourning period. Because with the NBE, they target the dates. They like the year anniversary, how many days, how many clothes, they target numbers. I don't know why they do that. Maybe it's because numbers are what gets us, but good gravy. Know your numbers. All right. We went over Aaron already. Memorial service recited 4 times a year in the Jewish faith is?
Yisker.
Remember that. 4 times a year, Yisker. Okay? Y-I-Z-K-O-R. All right. Here is a controversial subject, so depending on who you speak to, embalming is okay with Jews, embalming is not okay with Jews. So it depends on, there's some things here. So they're going to try and trick you, and it's easy to, all right? So here we go with our first one. You are working with a Reformed, you got to look for the key. Reformed, Orthodox, conservative. You got to look for the key words. That's it with the NBE. Like, I tell you, look for the words that stand out. Look for these words. They make the biggest difference. Trust me. You are working with a Reformed Jewish family. Which of the following is correct?
Embalming is permitted.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the only one it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Jewish ceremony of washing the deceased is called?
Tahara.
And that is extremely important. Please remember that. So is this one. Jewish faith tradition.
Kever.
Means the grave. So that is K-E-V-E-R, means the grave. Remember that, okay? Jewish faith tradition, a deceased female is referred to as?
Bat Minin.
You are assisting an Orthodox Jewish family regarding the death of their mother. Who would make up the?
Kevra Kadisha.
Thank you, because I butcher that.
Women.
I have no shame, at least. I'd rather you say it right. And here it is again. All right, we did that one. Which of the following terms means Holy Society? That means that they're going to give you a list of terms that they're going to try and trick you with. Don't let them. It is
Hevra Kadisha.
Holy Society. All right? Which of the following Hebrew terms refers to burial?
Kavura.
Jewish faith. What is the anniversary of death called? We went over that.
Yortzeit.
But that's important. So, according to our glossary, the term
Makom
refers to the place of the burial. All right, we went over, I'm just going through these. All right, you are assisting a Jewish service. Prior to leaving the temple, the rabbi tears the kriyah ribbon for the father, mother, and the wife of the deceased. What term is utilized when referring to these surviving family members?
Avalim.
What is the title for the watcher in Judaism?
Shomer.
The watch performed by the shomer is called the
Shemira.
In the synagogue, this architectural feature is raised above the congregation.
Bima.
Which of the following terms is best defined as the act of bending the knee as an indication of reverence or as an act of humility?
Genuflect.
You know, that kind of crosses over a lot of religions, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, we do a little dip.
Yeah, because, you know, I just did a Roman Catholic one, and that was in there too. That's interesting. Anyway, all right. That's a word.
Oh, boy.
I told you, all right. In Jewish theology, this concept deals with the transmigration of the soul. Hooked on phonics this.
I got it. Yilgu Hanefesh.
Dang. All right. GILGUL space HANEFESH. Just so you can study that and know and see it. But that's how I wanted her to properly pronounce, and I will happily, like, you can read these yourselves so you can recognize the term when you see it. All right. These are the prayers from the book of, do you say that?
Psalms.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. Book of Psalms. Okay, guys, you can't make fun of me for all those other episodes. I said it right. Ha! All right. Book of Psalms, said before the funeral by a group of friends and the shomer.
Tehillim.
All right. Which of the following Hebrew terms means God full of compassion?
El Malei Rachamin.
The kippah. The kippah is the skull cap worn by men at temple services and funeral services. So, doesn't that also include?
It's also called a yarmulke.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So same thing. Yeah. All right. We've got that in our other guides. I just wanted to make sure I'm not crazy.
Yeah. We have a lot of different words for the same thing.
Huh. All right. Which of the following religious symbol is permitted at an Orthodox Jewish service?
The Star of David.
Or the Mogan David?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Aside from high holy days, when would most Jewish funerals be prohibited?
On Shabbat.
All right. What may be placed in the casket of the bar minan?
Earth of Israel.
You are working with a Reformed Jewish family again. Which of the following statements will be correct?
They will choose their own clothing.
You are directing a funeral service for a member of the Jewish community. Part of the Kabbalah is the tearing of a ribbon. What is this ribbon called? The Kraya
ribbon.
Yep, Kraya.
Kraya ribbon.
I know that one. I'm proud of myself. This one I don't. Orthodox Jewish hooked on phonics, you know?
Right.
Orthodox Jewish ceremony of preparing the deceased and home prior to the initial transfer is called the
Hashkava.
Nicely done.
Not bad for a reformed Jewish girl.
Yeah, dang. All right. You got these Orthodox ones like down. And here you were like, you know, I'm not Orthodox. I'm like, yeah.
I'm not even conservative. I'm Reformed.
But heck, you've got this.
Thank you. Men handle men and women handle women.
Members of the
Hevra Kadisha
undress the remains, position the body on a sheet face up with the feet facing the door. The windows of the... Sorry, I had to switch pages, guys. The windows of the room are open, and the deceased is addressed by their Hebrew name.
When positioning the body, the limbs are straightened and the eyes are closed.
So, kind of like embalming regularly. When positioning the Jewish body, the mouth and jaw may be tied with a handkerchief or piece of cloth. So, not like our typical modern day needle injector and wires. That's interesting. Or a piece of cloth.
All the mirrors in the house should be covered during Shiva.
The shomer or watchman attends the deceased from the time of death until the time of the funeral. They remain within visual distance of the deceased at all times. Men and women may serve as this title.
No smoking or eating and unnecessary conversation will be allowed in the room with the deceased.
Embalming is usually not practiced in Judaism. So going back to what I said earlier, here we go. So I'm right. Okay, I'm not crazy. It's not practiced in Judaism unless civil law requires it. Also, here you go. Reformed Jews will embalm.
That's right. In Judaism, all blood is put into containers and placed in the casket with the body.
So that goes with what we just said. You remember I mentioned earlier about the embalming? If we do arterial, whatever, you collect all that blood and it is going right in that casket. And I cannot be more clear about that. If you get one of those questions, yes, blood. It sounds a little odd if you're not part of the religion. It sounds a little weird, but because unsanitary almost, but that's what they believe. Everything is going to go back to the ground with them. Hence why the Aaron is made out of wood and all organic. They believe in what I come in with is right, what I go out with.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Exactly. Right. Yes. All right. So, in Judaism, when dressing and wow, that's weirdly worded. That's not my fault. Mm-hmm. In Judaism, when dressing and casketing, sorry, it was a spelling error, the remains, it is the responsibility of the
Hevra Kadisha
to shroud the body with the
Tachrichim.
I love you. All right. Here you go. You get that again.
The Tachich.
You got it. Hooked on phonics.
The Tachichrim is made of white linen without bindings, hems, knots, or pockets. Men will wear 7 and women will wear 8 garments. Now, I hate to cut you off, but this part, this is really important for the NBE. Mm-hmm. They're going to potentially ask you in Judaism how many garments men or women wear. And they do this with Islam too, so it's not just Judaism. Men wear 7, women wear 8. Men wear 7, women wear 8. How many do men wear? Did you say 7? How many do women wear? I think I heard you say 8. Yay! We got it. All right. A linen bag filled with straw and
Israel, earth.
Is placed under the deceased's head in the casket.
So that's kind of, I've heard of that. A linen bag filled with straw and Israel earth is placed under the deceased's head in the casket. I've never seen it, but I've heard it. Usually I've heard of just putting earth of Israel on top.
Right.
That's an interesting concept. Okay, interesting. See, we learn.
I'm learning too.
All right. In Judaism, Israel earth is spread on the casket. See, that's what I knew. That was the next one.
Yes.
In Judaism, Israel earth, see, if we had just waited, that was the next one, is spread on the casket floor. Oh, not on the top, though. So it still doesn't make... No, I heard you put it on top.
You always
throw it.
Yes, they give you a shovel at the...
Wait, is that a difference between the 3? Maybe?
Maybe. This might be an Orthodox thing.
Maybe. All right, so let's see. All right. And any clothes or jewelry worn at the time of death should be placed in the casket. The casket is then closed and generally never reopened.
In Judaism, the casket is always moved feet first.
Instead of head first, feet first, which I found fascinating when I heard about that. All right. Hands should be washed after being in contact with the remains. I mean, this goes with OSHA. Like anybody, if you've gone through school and you've gone through your OSHA and all those protective things, you know this. Hands should be washed after being in contact with the remains, being in the same room as the deceased, and after being at the cemetery.
Most Orthodox Jewish funerals are held at the funeral home or at the cemetery. Very few are held at the synagogue.
All right. Conservative Jewish and Reformed Jewish funerals may be held where? Number 1, the funeral home.
Number 2, the residence of the deceased. I've actually been to one of those. It was beautiful. Number 3, the temple. And last but not least, number 4, at the gravesite itself.
If the Jewish funeral takes place somewhere other than the temple, the cortege
Cortege.
Oh, see, I'm learning.
No, that's a funeral word. So
look at that.
You want to do that again?
I do.
All right.
If the Jewish funeral takes place somewhere other than the temple, the cortege will not normally stop at the temple on the way to the cemetery.
Cortege is a very common funeral word. We'll talk later.
I love it.
Jewish committal services may take place in any cemetery. So unlike those pesky Roman Catholics where you've got to get a letter saying that you got to be okay to be buried in one of their cemeteries, the VA, those are fine. That I have no issue with. But the Roman Catholics, that strikes me as bonkers sometimes. It's a lot. If you are Jewish, you can be buried in any cemetery.
If the Jewish funeral is held in the funeral home, the Aron is placed parallel to the front of the chapel or stateroom and covered with a pall.
I didn't know they used those. I thought that was a Catholic Christian thing. That's cool. A menorah is placed near the casket, and the Mogen David is placed on the foot end of the casket.
In the Orthodox Jewish funerals, flowers are normally not used.
And I cannot emphasize this for your NBE enough. Remember, I've told you in previous episodes about religion, flowers are a big one. If it says no flowers, remember that. Orthodox Jews, no flowers. None. No. Nada. Okay, moving on. During the Jewish funeral procession, the
Levaya.
They have their own word for the funeral cortege. Look at that. So the Levaya, aka the funeral cortege, may stop at the synagogue for the rabbi to do one last prayer to provide one last contact with the synagogue.
During the Jewish procession, during the Jewish procession to the grave, the rabbi may stop the casket bearers 7 times to pray.
The Jewish grave site is usually plain. No artificial grass, no mechanical lowering devices, and there's sometimes a tent.
Family and friends will recite the Kaddish at the end at that time and may cut or tear their clothes.
When leaving the grave site, mourners will wash their hands 3 times, pouring water from a vessel beginning with the right hand. Hands are then often let air dried. All right. True or false?
The mourning period applies to Orthodox, Reform, and Conservative Jewish faiths.
True. I was hoping you'd yell that with me.
I'm sorry.
1, 2. True. No?
You didn't
All right.
say 3. You didn't say 3.
It's okay. Okay, next.
I never knew you snorted when you laughed.
You did. None of these people do either because I haven't had a real laugh. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. I'm moving on. Now that I'm bright, you can't see me, but I'm cherry red.
You are.
All right. You ready? I need a second.
Take a minute. For the death of a parent, mourners abstain from all festivities for a period of 12 months.
Conservative and Reformed Jews, in some instances, may request regular clothes to go over the
Tacharichim.
There you go. All right.
Reform and Conservative Jews have no restrictions to embalming and casketing.
All right. We kind of went over that a little bit. All right. Reformed and Conservative Jews may have the casket open during the service. That is so important because all 3 have different standards, whether it be open or closed. Again, I hate to say it, but you got to look for the key words when these questions come up. Reformed, conservative, Orthodox. You need to remember all of, like, that is going to be your key word to the answer. Because it could be, as you can tell, some are okay with embalming, others are not. You can see what I mean. All right, so we've got Reformed and conservative Jews may place the Mogan David or Star of David within the head panel behind the casket or on top of the casket. I've seen both. They're both quite beautiful.
In a Reform or conservative Jewish funeral, flowers may be displayed.
So, in a Reform or conservative, flowers are okay. Mm-hmm. All right. A prayer recited for the deceased by the direct mourners, in parentheses, parents, siblings, spouse, or children. For the first time at the conclusion of the interment service. It is recited by children for parents at every service for 11 months. It is called the
Kaddish.
A hexagram form by the combination of two triangles symbolizing a new hope for the Jewish people is called the
Mogan David or Star of David.
All right. 7 days of mourning following the Jewish burial is the
Shiva.
The 30-day mourning period in the Jewish faith is the
Sholashim.
All right. A hand-sewn linen shroud in which the deceased members of the Jewish faith are dressed is the
Tachrechim.
Your favorite word.
I love that word.
Hooked on phonics. I always do that. If the death occurs on the Sabbath, which is the sundown Friday until sundown Saturday, I know we stated this early on, but hear me out. The removal should not be made until after the sun has set on Saturday. That's what I wanted to add. Marking the official end of the Sabbath. Now it notes there are situations where this law cannot be honored. All right, preparations of the remains.
For the Reformed and conservative Jews, there are usually no religious restrictions concerning this. Embalming is allowed.
All right, preparing of the remains. Orthodox, very different.
Embalming is not allowed. The reason for that is the belief that nothing should be done that would delay the return of the body back to the original elements, except it may be necessary when transporting is a factor or when death takes place on the Sabbath and refrigeration may be necessary.
The site around the grave is all natural. There is no artificial turf, mechanical lowering devices, and maybe even no tent.
Final prayers by the rabbi.
Family and friends recite the Kaddish. Sorry. Fine.
Family clothing or symbolic ribbon may be rendered, torn, or cut.
The rabbi reluctantly shovels earth onto the Aaron. Then family rotates till Aaron is covered. See, we knew it. Okay, yay. They do put it on top. It must be an Orthodox thing where they put it in. Mm-hmm. All right.
Upon leaving the cemetery, mourners should wash their hands 3 times, starting the right hand and air dried.
All right. So low to the ground. So Shiva stools low to the ground in order to humble themselves while they contemplate life following the death of a loved one on. I may not have experience with this, and my friend might not, because she's not Orthodox, nor is she conservative. I always believed that Israel earth was sprinkled on top of the Aaron. This says Israel earth is spread on the floor of the Aaron. That could be Orthodox. I apologize. It does not specify. After the body casketed, some personal articles can be included. Once the casket is closed, however, it will never be reopened. That is so important. Very, very important. All right. Aaron moved from place of preparation and area designated for service goes feet first. Funeral director's role in preparing the Orthodox Jew is almost non-existent. Once the removal to the preparation room has been made, the rabbi will notify the
Chevra Kadisha
who will come to the funeral home to prepare the body themselves if embalming is to occur. In parentheses, it says Orthodox.
The blood shall be collected in containers, sealed, and placed in the casket with the deceased. This is due to the belief that the blood contains the individual's soul.
And that is for the Orthodox Jewish burial, which, by the way, like I said earlier, they like to hurry because they bury within 24 hours from the time of death.
All Jewish funerals are like that.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that was the question I had, because, like, considering there's 3 sects, I was like, do y'all have, like, any that give you
Get
extra?
them in the ground right away.
That's what I was taught, but then again, I was also taught, I feel like I didn't learn enough about Jewish funeral rites, so I wasn't sure if that was just Orthodox, but I thought it was all Jewish faiths. Anyway, so the visitation for Orthodox may not be held, or the time would only be a matter of hours. I would assume that goes because they need the time. Time is of the essence when it comes to a Jewish funeral. All right.
Me. Casket will be closed, and a pall with the Star of David may drape the casket. A menorah may be placed at the head of the casket. Vigil candles may be a replacement. No flowers, no music. Shomrim to watch over the body. Visitation for Reformed and Conservative. Visitation may be similar to that of other religions. Funeral Orthodox. No services are held on the Sabbath. The family will participate in the Kriya. Rabbi, assisted by the cantor, leads the funeral service, which is generally very brief and is made up of the reading or chanting of Psalms, El Mol Rachamim, and Hesped.
No flowers.
Kriya.
Which is the custom of rending or tearing of one's clothing that symbolizes one's grief. Many families will wear a black ribbon, which they will tear instead of their own article of clothing. This is then worn for 30 days following the funeral during a period of mourning known as
Shaloshim.
All right, so we're going to go over the name. These ones are what I need Susan for the mostest.
Okay.
We're going to go over the garments for the men, which is 7, and the 8 for the women, and what they are called and what they are, because they like to use either the English or the Hebrew word in the NBE, okay? All right, so this is for the men. It consists of 7 garments. We're going to start with
Mitznefes,
which is a headdress.
Naisayim.
You want to say it again?
Nasaim.
I think you got that. All right, trousers with closed feet.
Kasonis.
It's a shirt with sleeves.
Kittel.
A robe with collar and sleeves.
Avnet Gartel.
Which is a sash.
Talit.
Which is a prayer shawl.
Sovev.
A small linen bag, which is used as a headrest. Now we're moving on to the women garments, which again consists of what? 8. That's what I thought you said.
We have a bonnet.
Covering for the hair.
Mechanaisayim.
Pants, it's the same as the men. Pants with closed feet.
Let me say it again.
Sure.
Nasayim.
There you go. Hooked on phonics. Look at you.
Gasonis.
Which was a blouse.
Gartel.
A sash. And lastly,
an apron. I think there's more.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
Face cover. Sovev.
Which is a linen sheet. All right. And then the procession includes the levaya. The cortege may stop at the synagogue. Wow. If this happens, the funeral director escorts the rabbi to the door of the synagogue door. Rabbi then recites a prayer as the funeral director opens the doors to the funeral coach. This provides last contact of deceased with the synagogue. At completion, the funeral director then closes the coach door and escorts the rabbi back. They then proceed to the cemetery for the committal service. During procession, rabbi may stop casket bearers 7 times to pray. Wooden planks or cloth straps used over freshly dug grave in Jewish cemetery or Jewish section is okay. So similar to others. Burial in a Jewish cemetery includes the recitation of Kaddish and other prayers by the mourners.
Kavod.
Paying respects.
Accompanying the casket to its final resting place. This includes gathering at the funeral home or chapel or at the gravesite prior to the burial in order to recite psalms and to speak of the merits of the deceased. Nechama.
Which means condolences.
Before leaving the gravesite, all present form a pathway comprised of rows through which the mourners will walk as they leave the gravesite. As they pass, the congregation consoles the mourners. Yahrzeit candle. A candle is burned for 24 hours on the anniversary of the death.
You need to remember that. Before you insert yours, the NBE is absolutely going to want to make sure you know what the heck that is. And they might ask you how long it's burned. They might ask you what the term is, what it's for. You need to know that. What did you want to add, my love?
I wanted to add that the funeral home usually provides the Yahrzeit candle for the family.
Yeah, we usually do that. Actually, for most of our religions, we did a lot of Baptists and a lot of Roman Catholic and, a wide variety of non-liturgical and liturgical, and we provided a lot of that. We actually have, stashes of stuff for each type of religion that we need. It's very interesting.
That's cool.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll even have certain religions, they call for different types of, books where people sign and say their condolences, and some people don't want them to have a cross or Jesus or something on it. They just want plain. We have a whole storage of them. So anyway, we now conclude the extra awesome special episode dedicated exclusively to Judaism and how awesome all the different everything is. This faith is so complex, and it's been amazing to learn from somebody who knows so much about it. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed having you, Susan. Thank you so much.
It was fun. And I learned stuff too.
That's the best part.
I know.
Very
and cool.
Anytime I have struggles saying something, I just say, listen, laugh with me, not at me. I'm going to hook on phonics the best I can. But truthfully, I bet you that a lot of the people out there that are not practicing Jewish probably do not know how to say it any better. So
this is true.
I wanted to do this so that we could teach people how to properly say it and how the practices work. So I think we did exactly that. I think we prepared people for their NBE and did a great job. Now, as I always like to say, if you have your NBE coming up, good luck. We are all here with you. Everybody listening to this podcast is practicing and preparing for the same thing. We are all behind you. I want you to sit down at that testing center with a smile on your face, put those awkward headphones on that don't actually cancel out any sound and will drive you crazy because you'll hear people clicking and tapping. But I want you to smile and be confident and know you've got this. Because honestly, stress is going to be your biggest undoer. And I want you to sit there and smile and know you've got this. Maybe you'll miss a couple. And you know what? Let's just say you fail by a point or 10. Who cares? Is your mom and dad going to disown you? Are you going to lose your job? Is your boss going to judge you? Because if they are, I will personally come smack them with a fish. You have multiple tries. I know it's pricey. But you know what? If you don't pass, look at it this way. You just got the freaking golden study guide. I could tell you every single freaking question and answer from my NBE because I can. Nobody can do that for you except for yourself. So go take it. If you fail, you fail. If you pass, great. I can't tell you how many people say they pass first try and they don't. It's just it's none of anybody's business. Give it your all. You've got this. You know you've got this. Listen to these podcasts. You'll get what you need to know because I truly focus on what you need to pass. That's my passion. I want more people in this industry, and I'm tired of the gatekeeping. I'm tired of people not helping each other. Like, here we are in this industry where we need as much help as we can get, and here we are not helping people study for the most important exam of their career. It's ridiculous to me. So please, sit confidently. If you fail, you fail. It's over. You try again. You got the best study guide. You know what to study. You know your weak points. Come back and you're going to do just fine. In fact, I'm pretty sure you will likely pass the first time. So anyway, good luck. Like I said, thank you for tuning in to another episode of my podcast and now YouTube. And I look forward to, our next episode where I have my friend from overseas that is a practicing Muslim. That should be fun. Thank you again, Miss Susan. I'm glad you joined us.
It was my pleasure. Good luck, everybody.
Right, they need it. So thank you for
joining us. Good luck
and goodbye. You are working with an Orthodox Jewish family whose loved one has died in a violent manner. Now, this is the wording that, how I say words will jump at you? Violent, Orthodox, like that is going to jump off your screen. I always say it's a lottery of 4,000 questions. No joke. You get that. You see violent death, Orthodox Jew. I will smack you with a fish if you don't remember. I say that a lot, but I'm telling you, there are certain words. And when they say things like violent, that's a key word. All right. So whose loved one has died in a violent manner. What do you do with the blood-stained clothing received with the deceased?
Place them in the casket with the deceased.
You always, with an Orthodox Jew, anything from inside their body, like blood, and there's another part of a guide where it says that, like, if they've lost blood, you literally put the blood in the darn casket. Like, some states require, this is what I read in a guide, some states require embalming. I'm not sure why or where. I don't recall where I saw it, but it's in my guide next to me, so we'll get to it. It says you save the blood and you put it in that casket. Orthodox Jew, everything goes back with them. So anyway, blood-stained clothing, put them in the casket. Which of the following Jewish groups is the most traditional in their funeral practice?
Orthodox.
Easy point, guys. All right. Went over that. Which of the following Hebrew terms can be utilized as a verb meaning to bury?
Bet Olan.
All right. The washing of the body has been done by the...
Where are we? Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine. I can't...
The Hevra Kadisha.
What garments will be used to dress the deceased?
The Tachrichim.
Now I'm going to spell it so you know it because that will probably be asked.
That's a tough word.
It is tough, right?
Yeah.
It's better to read it and know it. So, okay. Washing of the body has been done. What garments will be used to dress the deceased is what you want to know. The word is spelled Tachrichim. You really, really should know that. Not going to say anything else. A religious singer who assists the clergy is called a
cantor.
All right, and we've done that. You are directing a Jewish service. At the interment service, the direct next of kin will say a prayer. What is this prayer called?
Kaddish.
All right. You have received an initial call from an Orthodox Jewish family regarding a death in their family. What 2 phone calls do you need to make sure have been made? So we're kind of revisiting that one from earlier, just better.
Right. You need to notify the rabbi and the Hevra Kadisha.
Dang that word. I need to learn it. All right. Name of the ritual of washing in Judaism?
Tahara.
In the Jewish tradition, this is the nearest of 7 blood relatives.
Avalim.
The prayers said before the funeral by the shomer are
Tehillim.
all right. So we are going to be moving on to, I'm going to be honest, the other Quizlets, I will credit and link them, but a lot of them had a lot of similar information. So what I did was I saved all of the names, all of the links. Everyone is going to get the appropriate credit as always. You will be able to access the Quizlets as always in my notes. But just to make it easier for you guys and not read like the same freaking thing over and over again, I wanted to put together just a printed out guide for me and Susan to read to you guys. And I think that it has just extra information. What we just went over covers a lot of what you need, but this is going to go even further and tell you things like the clothing that they wear, because they dress men and women depending on the type of... You'll see. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and jump in. Judaism and Orthodox. All right, founded by Abraham in the 16th century BC, Judaism is the first monotheistic religion.
What are the three Jewish groupings in the United States? Orthodox continue the ancient traditions and beliefs. Reformed allow greater flexibility and have adopted to modern practices. Conservative, who fit somewhere in the middle of Orthodox and Reform, still follow ancient traditions but accepted gradual changes.
All right. You're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Notify the rabbi unless the death occurs on the Sabbath, which would be Saturday. In this case, notify the rabbi immediately at the end of the Sabbath. The group leader of the
Hevra Kadisha
society should also be notified. I love you. Thank you.
I love you too.
I can tell.
In Judaism, no removals are to be made from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, unless death occurs in a public place or the remains interfere with public